call it at SACAP for this module. And I'm looking forward to teaching it and sort of connecting with all of you on it. It's an interesting module because even though it has a big name, accounting and financial management, if you look at the module outline, if you look at the outcomes, you'll see it's not as challenging. But I'm also very mindful that some people have a bit of a phobia around numbers. And when you hear the word accounting, you think, oh, I'm going to have to do T accounts now. I've got nightmares about this nonsense. And that's why I did hospitality at school and math lit. And I don't want to see numbers ever again. Others might go, oh, this is nothing. So all of us come from different directions. I can tell you my background. My background is in psychology and philosophy in my undergrad. And then numbers found me, whether I wanted it to find me or not. And just from my 20 years in corporate working life, in sales, in marketing, and now running my own business as a sort of training, a leadership trainer, and as a coach, and as well as sort of doing SME development, I found myself in those 20 years working in corporate that numbers is the language of business. And understanding numbers, understanding the numbers in a business is sort of understanding that language. So the thing of this course is just learning a new language, or think of it as learning a new vocabulary. It's just about learning the different words. A lot of things you already know, but this course is just going to give you different words for them, and that's and then that's important. And yes, so it's a bit of an interesting course. It consists of two parts, which is the accounting part of it, and then the finance part of it. And the accounting part of it is really very basic accounting concepts. That's really all it is. It's about understanding basic accounting concepts, because the two things are very different. Accounting is where you generate the numbers, and accounting isn't bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is literally, the word means keeping the books. In the olden days, you wrote things all in the books. Transactions all used to take place. You write them in books, and there are different books or different ledgers: asset ledger, inventory ledger, cash book. You had all these different books, and you put all of those different books together. And the person that kept the books were the keeper of the books. They became the bookkeeper. Accounting is a bit more than that. Accounting begins before the bookkeeping process, and it ends after the bookkeeping process. Accounting is literally an account of all of the transactions that takes place within the organization, within the business. It is noting all of the transactions from a source to a destination, and that's what accounting is in a nutshell. And accounting is important because accounting, or making an account, or accounting for these transactions that take place, they generate a set of documents, what we call statements. It states the accounting of these transactions, and these statements then become financial statements that we then use to interpret. So finance is then the interpretation, or financial management is the interpretation of the financial statements that the accounting process, the accounting of all the transactions have produced. And that all it is. And I'm very interested in understanding the financial statements part of it. But in order to understand the financial statements, the statement of the financial position, the old balance sheet, the statement of the financial or comprehensive income, the old income statement, statement of how cash flew or flowed through the organization, the cash flow statement. In order to understand those statements, you have to understand where they come from, and that is what the accounting portion of this module is really about. And it's very basic. It is just about understanding, oh, so this is where the income statement comes from, or the profit and loss, or this is where the balance sheet or the financial position comes from. Oh, that is why we have this information. So it's a bit of it's that. So it's in a very basic, very fundamental course. But I want you to hold on. If there's one thing that I want you to learn out of all of this, out of this module, is to grab hold of the financial management aspect of it, because the interpretation, the analysis interpretation of those financial statements is essentially a look back. So we look in the rearview mirror and we look, this is what happened, and then you read between the lines, analyze it. You then have that information that then you have to make decisions from. So those financial statements are decision-making tools. They are fundamental management decision-making tools. And for you, doing this course, doing this module as part of your bigger course, for all of you that are doing business management as part of your course, note that you're not doing BCom. You're not doing a Bachelor of Commerce degree. You're doing a Bachelor of Arts degree in business management. And it's a great, it's almost like I don't want to call it a software. It's a different approach to preparing you for management position within a corporation, within a company, within an organization. Because what SACAP has done is SACAP says, yeah, we can teach you all of the hard skills. We can teach you all of understanding accounting, understanding financial management, understanding leadership, understanding business management, understanding project management, understanding all of these things, but we add a bit of SACAP to it. So we come from a different direction. And our direction is not doing a hardcore BCom degree, but doing it from a SACAP point of view, which is we'll look at these modules and we'll almost like reinterpret them for the type of student that comes to us. And that is what makes you as a SACAP student uniquely different from a student that does a hardcore BCom at the UCT or Stellenbosch or the Wits or UJ or the KZN or at the Varsity College, etc. And then that's the difference. And I hope that makes sense for you. So also my approach to teaching is not and facilitating and educating is not in a hardcore BCom, you must understand accounting, blah blah blah, and this is how it is. It's more of a facilitated approach where I provide you with the information, I provide you with lots of resources, and I want you to sit with that discomfort, to sit and grapple through some of this concept, learning this new vocabulary, and then sort of grow from there. And just look at all of your courses that you're doing, all of your modules. We call it in education, we call it scaffolding. All of your modules are sort of added on top of each other to build a body of knowledge, of a base of skills or a foundation of skills that will hopefully prepare you to be able to contribute, to contribute in a working environment, to contribute from day one. And so forth. So that's really a little bit about my approach, a little bit about my expectations from you, and that is also these sessions as well. So back to the timing of it. I would like us just to engage with that because by 11 o'clock on a Friday morning is a challenge. I generally do other work during the day, and it's really going to be a bit of a challenge. But I want us to just discuss it and see what can work for all of us. So that's that. So we can swing back to that again. In terms of my approach, my expectations from you. My expectations from you is I provide the material, we have these sessions, and my expectation is that you engage with it, and you engage with it when you do it, however you do it. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's simply you do it when you do it. And my approach is very much you learn how you learn when you learn. And I think a lot of you have signed up for an online course because you want that flexibility. You want that flexibility to study on your own terms, in your own time. And I think for me, that's important. I've been teaching online for the last 10 years. 7 years, even pre-COVID. I've been teaching online, and that is really, for me, people that are drawn to online learning is people that want that flexibility, that want to learn on their own terms when they learn and how they learn. So that's my expectation from you. What you can expect from me is that the material will be uploaded timelessly. You will have access to not just the textbook, but a whole lot of additional material. I believe that people learn differently, so you'll have everything from podcasts to video overviews, to some reading, to the article, to a YouTube video, to a quiz. So you'll get little bits about everything because people learn differently. People are learning different ways. Now comes, I know that for you, there is a requirement for class attendance. I do have it within my won't say right, but within my responsibility, ambit of responsibility as educator. I have waived that because once again, for me, generally, I do work I tend to teach on the flexi side, and they are full-time students. They are husbands, wives with families and stuff, and they work full-time. And allow them the flexibility. If they don't attend the session, they won't be sort of marked down. These sessions are not compulsory. All of the sessions are recorded. I generally post them the next day immediately with a little overview and a summary of the sessions. So you will be able to get hold of the session and be able to listen to it in your own time. Obviously, when we do have, and I will let you know, so a lot of the time, especially before assessments, a portion of the online session will be dedicated to the assessments, because I think that's important to have clear guidance in terms of what to do and how to do the assessment, because I'm going to be marking it, and I want to make sure that you understand what you need to do, how you need to do it, and what my expectation is, so that you understand that clearly and fully, and there's no confusion around that. So these sessions are not compulsory. They will be recorded and they will be posted the next day for you. So what about module engagement, and how do I measure that? And with online students, I find the only real way of doing it is to give you a bit of incentive. So I'll have 10 weekly quizzes for you from session 1 through to session 10. 10 weekly quizzes. The quizzes are between 15 and 20 questions long. They are not too challenging, depends. They take 60 minutes to do. You have 2 opportunities to complete them. You have to pass them with 80%. And the system will take the base mark. So you do it twice. You do it the first time, you get like 60, you're not happy. You do it the second time, you'll get the questions, you'll get the answers. You'll do it the second time, and hopefully the second time you do a bit better. And the system will take the best score. And out of that 10 quizzes, you need to complete 5. And that's the minimum. You complete 5 of the quizzes. The quizzes will be there. I'm looking at uploading, so I'll upload them at least 2 or 3 weeks before the time. You'll have until the end of week 10 to complete your 5. Please don't leave it until the last week to complete your 5. Give yourself, do them regularly. You know, if you don't want to do it one this week, you do the one next week. You know, there's an assessment this week, you skip this week, you do the one the following week. But don't leave them until the end. And if you complete those 5, you complete them, you pass them, you get full marks for your module engagement. So you get full 20% for your module engagement. Is that understood? Just give me a thumbs up, or do you have any queries or questions around that? Can I just have a thumbs up very quickly? And also, I just want to know whether you guys are still there. So a thumbs up from everyone. I got 1 thumbs up. I've got 1 hand. Yes, Mila, you've got a question?
Sorry, I meant to put my thumb up, not
They put up all 5 fingers. Okay. Noted. Awesome. So let me just finish off this point about the timing of the session. Bryce has a bit of a challenge in terms of his online time. Anyone else? Where are we with that? If it's not Thursday at 6 p.m., is there an alternative time? It kind of has to be below after 6 or at 6 because I'm a bit challenged during the day. Misa, you were in my HC class, weren't you? Just checking. I want to call you out.
Yeah.
Sorry for embarrassing you. Oh, sorry, I'm one of those dads that shout.
It's fine.
Okay, good. Welcome. Nice to see
So
you.
is there any way we can do like another day, not Thursday?
Yes. Give me a time, or give me a day. Give me. Let's work together. Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday,
Thursday. Have soccer on like during the nights. So
okay.
if
Monday,
like
Tuesday,
Wednesday or Tuesday, I don't mind any other day except that day.
No problem. Anyone else? Can I just get an idea?
So I'd be able to do Thursday at about 6. Only issue with the rest of the week is I'm on standby for breakdowns. So usually I do get called out after hours. That's why I was sort of hoping for this morning class, but I understand if it's a struggle, then probably ideally would be a Thursday, 6 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got another. Okay. Any other day at 6 except Mondays and Thursdays? Okay, that's Michaela. Okay. All right. Bryce, how's the Monday? I know you're on standby. And again, as I said, it's all the sessions are recorded, and obviously I am online with emails. And if you do have a question, you can always. I normally respond within 24 hours. That's what my contract is with you. So when you do send me an email, I will respond within 24 hours if there are any questions. For the assessments, I sometimes do make a separate, like a recording, and I post that on YouTube, or I'll send you the link, where I sort of take my time to go through the entire assessment and explain to you exactly what my expectation is for you. And normally I'll post that as a separate video for you just to go over that and be able to listen to it back and forth until you sort of understand what is required. We're on a Tuesday potentially for now.
Sorry, so did you say you can only do after 6, or am I wrong?
Yeah.
So I can't do Tuesdays at night because I have action netball on those days, and I've done it for 3 years now. I'm not going to stop doing it now.
Okay. So Ram, it looks like it could be Thursday. I'm sorry, buddy. Is it indoor soccer? That's the whole season, eh?
Yeah, it's indoor where we have like a team, and it's usually during those days.
And what about 5?
5 p.m. It could be better just because it's it's you don't know the time from 6 to like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
They give you the time every week.
Bryce, 5 o'clock.
No.
Bryce, will you be available at 5 o'clock on the Thursday?
So that should be fine. I might just be a little bit late, but we can do that.
Awesome.
Cool.
So we've got one. Thank you, guys. I do appreciate this. I'm not quite sure why the team put me onto a live class, but as soon as I got them, that's also why I've communicated late, because I've been talking to the team, the online team, this whole week to say that, listen, guys, the time that you booked me in, I'm not really available. I've got a challenge, not every week, but for most weeks. And I don't want to commit to something and then end up having to send emails to you guys saying, sorry guys, I'm not available this week. Can we do an alternative time? And when we do an alternative time, there's this back and forth story. So if we can settle on that time, and I know it's not going to work for 100% of us, and yeah, I do apologize for that. But it would help me, but also, yeah, just from a timing point of view, so that we don't end up with having to reschedule each week, because that is just, as an online student, that's the worst thing. You kind of want to know your schedule. You want to know when the sessions are. You want to know when the person's online, so that you can work around that and plan around that as an online student, because that's the flexibility that you want, and that's why you signed up for this. Good. Excellent. Alrighty. So let's start off with side by side. Business structure. Alrighty, everybody can see that. Hey? Just give me a thumbs up. You don't need French subtitles. Alrighty, everybody can see my screen. I've got SACAP on there. I've got module orientation and all of that. Awesome, awesome. So as I said, that's who I am. As I said earlier, my undergrad is actually philosophy and psychology, organizational psychology. I must confess, not psychology, organizational psychology. After that, I did honors in management and strategy, and I did my MBA later on. I'm busy with my master's at the moment on leadership, and I've also did theology along the way as well. And also my sort of corporate background was sales, marketing. For a long time, I was a buyer at Clicks also, and that I did for about 20 years. And for the past 10 years, no, not 10 years, for the past 13 years, I have been subcontracting as an online lecturer, as a lecturer full-time. I was at Boston College, Rosebank, Vega. I teach at UWC. I ran a course at UCT. I ran a course at Stellenbosch Business School. And I've been with SACAP now for 5 years, and which I do mainly sort of online, actually only online, with the online teams. I was involved in the development of the online higher certificate program, the development, content development, strategy, learning strategy in there. So I've been in higher education for 12 years, and I absolutely love teaching, but not teaching as I don't see myself as this expert that's standing there in front that gives you all of my knowledge and I try to transmit it into your brain because I'm that good. No, think of me more as a surfer. I'm sort of, there's a mountain that we have to climb. I'm carrying your load and I'm walking beside you, and we're going to get to the top together. And all of you are adults, all of you are responsible for your own learning, and I facilitate that learning process. And that's really how I see myself, how my teaching philosophy is. And I treat you like you know everything already. I just give you a bit of guideline and say, look at this, look at that. Here's some information on this. Here's some more on that. Watch this video, read this article, and so forth. And that is how I would like to approach my teaching. So today was really just settling in, getting to know each other, but also just chatting through session 1. So a bit of housekeeping quickly. Everybody has the module outline. Everybody has had an opportunity to access the textbooks, the 2 textbooks. They're all both online on SACAP on EBSCOhost. Yes, just a thumbs up quickly for me. Yeah, everybody got that? Excellent. So you've got your resources, and again, those resources. The textbook is a great textbook. I mean, that's what textbook is, so simple. It literally is called Accounting for Everyone. It's a little book like this, and it's confidence inspiring, especially for someone that does not have an accounting background. And as I said at the beginning, numbers is the language of business. Doesn't matter if you're an intern, doesn't matter if you are working in your folks' business, doesn't matter if you're working in a family member's business, doesn't matter if you work in a big corporation. Numbers are what the business uses to speak. It's the language of it. And that's important to remember. You will never be, you can't get away from it. You need to understand it, and you need to learn to love it. You might not like it, but you must learn to love it or fall in love with it. I fell in love with numbers. I can tell you that much. It is not, as I said, psychology, philosophy. That was my undergrad. You know, anthropology, politics. That's what I did as undergrad. I was going to go, just to give you a background, I was going to go into law. And then I took a shore left. I took a side quest. And now at the age of 50, that side quest has been a long side quest. I've even left the main game behind. Now my main game is now the side quest in its entirety. And I've learned to fall in love with numbers. I've learned to understand that it is the very foundation upon which we make decisions. As I said at the beginning, accounting is where the numbers come from. It's an accounting of the transactions. It's where the numbers come from. The main thing, the main player, the main character is the financial statements, because the financial statements is looking back at what happened in order for us to make decisions and what to do next. And management, being a manager in an organization, whether you're a team leader, doesn't matter what it's called. If you're responsible for a team, whether you're responsible for a group of people, responsible for a department, whether you're responsible for a section or for a business unit, your very role each and every day is about making decisions. You have to, that's your job. You make decisions. You don't do the actual work. You have teams doing that for you. But as a manager, your job is to make decisions. And the way of making decisions is by looking at these financial statements, these main characters, and being able to interpret them, analyze them, interpret them, and then make appropriate decisions as to what to do next. For today's session, we're just going to look very briefly at things like the various business units. For those that did EMS at school and for those that did business studies at school, this is going to flash back at you. For those that didn't do business studies or EMS, well, all of you would have done EMS. If you didn't do business studies, you might remember some of it. And then, so that's really on understanding the different forms of business. Some of you would have done this in business management even, because the area that I teach in is business management as well, 1, 2, and 3 in strategy and leadership. So it will be very much the same. And then analyze the difference between these forms in terms of the legal and financial, especially financial implications, and then apply and select a given scenario. Okay, so how do you decide what type of business you're going to set up, what the business structure is? A lot of it is to do with size. A lot of it is to do with what you do, and the future. So it's really predicated on 3 things. How big is my business? Is it going to grow? How big is it now? And do I want it to grow? What do I want? How do I want liability to be? Where do I want liability to sit? Just hold on 1 second. Sorry, got a puppy. She's now just decided that it's a good time to stand by the door and bark my heart out. But I think it's mostly because my wife is outside. So it's a size. Do I want my business? What's the size? And do I want my business to grow? 2, do I want to access funding outside of my business? And do I want it to grow bigger because of access to funding? And then 3, it's about the legal and the compliance aspect of it. Where do I want liability to sit? How do I want to manage it? How do I want it complicated? Do I want it simple? And so forth. And then we really have 3 choices in the South African context. You can have a sole prop, which is you're a small business, you don't want it complicated. You don't want to fill out a lot of SARS stuff. You don't want to register. You don't want to do all of those things. You're happy to run your fish and chip shop. You're happy to run your plumbing shop. You're happy to run your mechanic shop. You're happy to do those things. And you don't want it to grow bigger. You don't want to complicate it. It is enough for you and your family to earn a bit of money, and it's an income for you. And a sole proprietor would be more than sufficient for you. It covers everything that you need. However, as your business grows bigger and bigger, then you need to start looking at how do I transition into maybe a partnership or private company. Partnership is where a group of you come together and say, well, you know, our business has grown. There's 4 of us. We now need to formalize this partnership. It's no longer we buddies or we friends. It's now we need to formalize this and actually write down a partnership agreement, because if things go wrong, we need to know how to deal with it. Partnership. And then you have a legal entity. So no longer it's a sole prop, no longer it's a partnership. Now it's what we call a legal entity. And a legal entity is just a fancy word for saying that this thing now is it's a thing all by itself. Legally, it's a person, legal entity. Legally, it's a person, and that legal entity can be taken to court. That legal entity can be held liable. That legal entity can ask for credit. That legal entity can do all sorts of things because it's a separate thing. However, there's a lot of compliance. There's a lot of legal things, that checklist that needs to be done. But also that legal entity, the liability, so the responsible, so that legal entity carries its own liability. So that's another big fancy word. What is liability? Liability simply means that if something goes wrong, who needs to pay for it? Who's responsible for it? When you got a sole proprietorship, the liability sits with you as a sole proprietor. You, as your plumber, you're driving in your van, you make an accident, an unfortunate accident, and you then are liable to fix the other person's car. You're liable to fix your own car. Or something goes wrong and the person says, well, you need to come back and fix it, and you're in a dispute. And now suddenly there's a dispute about repairs of a plumbing job that was done. Or in this case, somebody chokes on a teaspoon and they say, well, proprietor, I'm holding you responsible. So now you go to court and the judge says, well, you know, you're kind of responsible, you know, so now I'm going to take your house in order to pay this person. Or I'm going to take your house to pay for the repairs of another car. And that's unfortunate because the liability lands on you. If in a private company, on the other extreme, liability sits within the company. If you want money from me because of something that my company did, then you have to go take the company to court and sell the company's assets in order to recover the cost. So those are some of the big, just in a very brief, in a nutshell, the different types. So let me click on here. So as I said, the formation is very simple. It's the simplest form of business. The legal status is there's no legal personality, so it's not a separate legal entity. The same from the owner. The owner is a business. The owner makes all the decisions. They have absolute control. Partnership, slightly different. It's a legal relationship between 2 or 20 people. Each partner shares in the profit according to agreed ratio. There's a written agreement. So this is what makes partnership different from company or from a sole proprietor, because a sole proprietor can also be like John and Sons, you know, or the So and Sons, and it will be the father and maybe his 2 sons running the business. That doesn't make it a partnership. That just makes it still the sole proprietor, even though there's 2 or 3 people working in the business. But a partnership is where there's a proper partnership agreement, which is vital to govern the relationship in a mandated way. And then liability. Oh, now this is where things become interesting. Partners are jointly and individually responsible for liability. So you operate a law firm, and there's 4 partners in the law firm, and something goes wrong. One of the partners does something or runs away with some client's money. The client comes back and says, I'm holding you personally, I'm holding the partnership, I'm holding this law firm responsible. And now suddenly the partner that ran away with the money needs to give the money back. But the rest of the partners are also responsible for making sure that that money gets paid back to the client. So you are jointly as partners responsible, and the partner. So whatever the one partner does, you become responsible for them. And then each partner had access to the agent of the business, which binds the other partners. And then obviously you've got a private company in South Africa, which is dominated by a PTY, and then you also have a public company. So they've got, but in essence, they're the same thing. One is just public, and the other one is private. A fancy legal term, a juristic person, it's called a legal entity, which means that that person, that company can be taken to court. That company can enter into contracts, and that is what is meant by a juristic person, which means it exists independent of the shareholders. As I said, it's donated by PTY Limited. Ownership minimum 1 shareholder, and can have a maximum of 50 shareholders, and more and more and more. 50 shareholders. Public companies can obviously have thousands and thousands of shareholders. Restrictions: the right to transfer shares is restricted, and shares may not be offered to the general public. So you can sell shares to other people and in the company, but also to other people privately. But you cannot offer the public shares. You can't say, buy shares in my company. You can offer privately. So you can have a meeting with potential shareholders, and you can say, yeah, this is my company. Would you like some shares in it? But we're doing this privately, not in the public with a newspaper ad or a TikTok video. So as I said, what is this legal personality thing or juristic person? It is when you have a sole proprietor, the owner of the business is a natural person. They breathe, they walk around. And whereas a juristic person is the company, it has a separation of assets and liabilities from the owners. The company can contract, they can take people to court, and so forth. It also means that the company holds all the liabilities and the company holds all the risk. So you've got two types of liability: unlimited and limited liability. In a sole proprietorship, it's unlimited liability. So whatever happens, you are personally liable for any debts, for anything that happens. Your personal assets can be taken. The business debt is your personal debt, which is not great. But it's a lot easier to manage because it's a lot less strict. It's not as complicated. You don't need to pay people to audit your books and so forth. Limited liability is shareholders of a private company. The shareholders have limited liability, which means that they can only lose the value of the investment. They can lose their shares in the company when the company goes bankrupt, but they won't end up having to pay the company's debts by selling their own house. So when a company incurs debts and the company goes bankrupt or the company is liquidated, then they don't have to sell their house to pay the company's debts. They just lose their investment in the company. That is what we call limited versus unlimited. Sole proprietor formation is no agreement required. Ownership is one owner, written partnership agreement, and then for private companies, memorandum of incorporation. Ownership is one owner, partnership 2 to 20, and then private companies 1 to 50. Control and governance and decision making. Sole proprietor has full control. They make all the decisions. Partnership is shared, and then companies appoint directors to conduct the in a company. If there is 50 shareholders, they can't meet once a week to make company decisions. They can't decide one, that's impossible. It's just going to take, everything is going to take forever and ever. So what do? They appoint a group of people. They say, these are our directors. They can direct the operations of the company on our behalf. So the shareholders then give those directors responsibility to direct it on their behalf, to direct the operations of the company on their behalf. However, if there's a misalignment between what the shareholders want and what the directors are doing, that is when you have a breakdown. So the directors must always act in the best interest of the shareholders. And if they don't, then the shareholders have the right to remove them and appoint a different set of directors. The sole proprietor sort of ends, the business ends when the person passes away, limited lifespan. A private company can go on indefinitely. And there's private companies, there's companies in China and Japan that has been around for hundreds of years. All right, so how do you decide which one is the best for you? One is capital needs, which is the need for money, the need for investors, the need for funds. The other one is risk. Another one is complexity. Think of capital needs, which is funding, investment, and then think of things like risk tolerance. Is he willing to, is he willing to take on personal risk? And then complexity. If you want to grow your business, you're going to need funding, which means that a private company with investors would be a much better option. If you are delivering a professional service, like accounting firm or a law firm, you find that partnerships like those tend to be professional service based. The two of us or the three of us come together, we form a partnership, and we share office space. In that way, we dilute some of our overhead expenses, and we can work together in a network, and so bring in business to the partnership, and we all benefit from it. And then in those cases, partnerships works quite well. And that is generally the space in which you find partnerships, and everybody brings in a small bit of money in order to start up the office, in order to pay for the rent and so forth. And it's not very complex. But obviously, if you want to grow your business, it becomes a lot more complex, and you will need a lot more processes and systems in place for yourself. All right, let me pause there and just do a quick check-in with everybody. Let's do that. Are there any questions? Quick. You guys can still see my... All right, we're back to... Am I still sharing my screen? No. I'll stop sharing. Great. Awesome. Are there any questions? As I said, I went through that quickly. Some of it is known stuff to you guys. Have a read through the textbook, the online textbook, the ebook, and yeah. Are there any questions regarding sort of the overall course? Any comments on it? Are there any things that you're worried about, concerned about? You can type in the chat as well. Is there anything about the course that you're looking forward to? The exam. Anyone?
Wait, will we be writing exams on this? Like you said.
Oh, please now. Have a look at your module outline. There's no exam. There's a summative assessment, summative assignment. Anyone? Bryce, do you sort of working full time during the week? Is any of the stuff you'll be able to sort of apply to your your work where you are at the moment?
Yes, so definitely, yeah. It's good to see now. I can see sort of the behind the scenes of how the company is actually being run. So everything sort of applies to it. So yeah.
Okay, great. And I want you guys to bring into the class some questions. You know, Bryce, when you're working and there was a team presentation where they were talking about something or the other, and you're not quite sure what they were talking, they were using language that might not be something that you know or been exposed to before. Bring it into the class, bring it into and ask the questions here, please. It'd be great to be able to explain that. And I know that all of you are working, some of you are sort of interning, some of you are sort of studying full time, even though you're studying online, because it's just better. So do ask questions, please. As I said, I'm more comfortable with a class that sort of interacts than me sitting here and talking to you for 40 minutes, going on and on and on, and you go, okay, so that was a waste of time for 40 minutes that I'm not going to get back. And also my voice gets boring, man. Jeez, I can go on. So yeah. All right. Any final? So we've got to a time now, which is great. So let's try that for a bit and see how it works. And again, we just keep on talking to me because it's. I want to make sure that if you want to come to class, I will make sure that we have a slot that that you can make. Obviously, there will be challenges for some of you. But I want to make sure that most of us would have a time where you can feel that I can log on. But if I'm not feeling like it either, or if something comes up, I know that the session is recorded and I can listen to it later on. I can listen to it tomorrow or the next day.
So
All right.
Every session?
Sorry?
How long is every class?
Ram, I want to make it longer than 40 minutes, because yes, you can only go to the toilet and make a cup of coffee so many times. And also, yeah, my voice isn't, you don't want to listen to my voice for longer than 40 minutes.
I see, because I remember in class, like, because I used to go to the Joburg campus. It was like 2-hour sessions.
Yes, so. I know. Yeah, I know. when I used to teach, when I was in varsity college, all of our sessions were 2 hours. Two sessions of 50 minutes each. Yeah. So generally that is because also for online it's about also holding your attention for longer is just I think it's just from all the research. 40 minutes, 45 minutes seems to be a good time. But also in terms of learning, you'll find that there's a lot of stuff online. I put a lot of things for each week, between a video overview, between a class discussion, between the quiz, between all of those things. There'll be stuff for you to do, YouTube videos. There'll be stuff for you to do in your own time that you'll have a lot more flexibility on. So if you say, you know what, I'm gonna do Saturday afternoon, I'm going to make sure that I get through all of my accounting and finance stuff for the week and start on my assessment. I'll put 2 hours aside or 3 hours aside for that, and that's what you do. But you do it in a time which works for you at a time which sort of works around your own schedule.
By the way, when is the first assessment due? Like the first big assessment?
Okay, so my first bit of homework for you is please download the module guide and have a look at it. So I'll tell you, Ram. Don't want to be facetious, but please do download the module guide. So assessment grade summary, module engagement 20, assessment 1, application-based assessment is 40, and then let me actually just share this.
No, because I remember looking and it didn't show the date. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's not that on the
week 5.
Week 5. Yeah. It would say the week. Yeah. Yeah. So let's have a look. Application based. So this is multiple choice questions. Multiple choice question, multiple choice question, multiple choice question. All open book. Multiple choice. Get it. Classification of financial transactions. Values. Submit the Excel spreadsheet version PMP as Excel files in Word document containing responses. I'll most probably ask you to take those Excel doc or take that Excel sort of table and to sort of paste it as a picture in the Word document. But we'll work through how I would like you to submit it, because it's easier for me, not easier, it's better for me to go through a Word document and then have to go from an Excel spreadsheet and then back to your Word document, Excel spreadsheet, back to your Word document. But I'll talk you through what is expected.
So in the other modules where we're writing like essays, they're normally just like telling us about like the format and spacing and all that. And I saw in the module outline it says basically the same thing that it would say for a module where we'd be just writing like essays. So I wanted to know, like, is it just, do you just need us to use the template and then the right font size, and then just is that all there is to it when it comes to the assessments?
Yeah. For this assessment, I've looked at it in our last week, and I've been sort of not toying. I've been thinking how best to submit this that works for you, and works for me with the marking and so forth, so I can mark it quickly and get it to you. And for this, I'll most probably put a template for you together, sort of a Word document, and I will tell you exactly what to put where. So it'll be a lot easier for you. So it will be a Word document, it will most probably be Arial, PAL, 1 hour spacing, etc., all laid out for you with a cover sheet and everything. You just open it up and just put your answers in. And I just need to apply my mind about the spreadsheet to be able to copy it over into the Word document as a picture or as an image, and then being able to, because then you've got one nice document that has everything in it as a Word document, and then before you submit it, you convert that Word document into a PDF, and then you submit it as a PDF. Would something like that work? Yeah, just give me indication. Would something like that work for you? Where you have a document and you can actually, you know, where to put in the answers, and everything works for you.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So because then we don't have to submit 2 separate documents, like one being a spreadsheet and then one being, yeah.
For this, I can tell you now, for this, your similarity report is going to be through the roof, because if you got your similarity, so this is the hint. if your similarity report isn't high, then you most probably got stuff wrong. So just be aware. So don't panic if it's like 50 or 60 or 70%, because it's numbers, and if you got all of it then right, then it is right. You know, then it will be similar to everybody else. All right. Good question. Thank you very much, Michaela. Awesome. I think I'll call it there. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you very much for accommodating the time. I will communicate that to the class, and we can we try it out for a few weeks and then see how we manage from there. If it's still a bit of a challenge, then we try to work around and see what else we can do. All right. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for logging on this morning. And I will see you next week.
Thanks, sir.
Thank
Awesome.
you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Michaela.